All right, let's just get right into it. AI can now design polished user interfaces, create these super complex workflows, and even map out entire user journeys all in a matter of minutes. I mean, it's a huge leap forward, no doubt, but it's also kicked off a pretty big question across the entire product world. And that brings us to the real question, the one that's probably on your mind right now. If an AI can do all that, if it can handle the screens, the layouts, all the flows, what's left for us, the human designers? And look, it's a totally understandable fear. But here's the thing. The answer isn't that design is becoming less important. No way. It's actually the opposite. So here's the core idea we're going to unpack. A designer's role, it isn't shrinking at all. It's just getting way more strategic. We're, moving up the stack. That just means we're shifting our focus from the shiny, visible screens to the invisible systems that actually make everything tick. And this right here is the fundamental shift. Think of it this way. AI is becoming this incredible tool for generating the what, the actual screens a user touches and sees. But the designer's job, our critical responsibility, is now the how. It's about designing the underlying system that makes sure everything works together reliably and safely. And to really get why this is so important, just look at any modern product you use. On the surface, right, you see the main user experience, but pull back the curtain and there's this entire ecosystem of people. You've got administrators, managers, reviewers, support teams. All of them are interacting with the very same system, but they all have completely different goals, different permissions, different needs. And here's the really crucial part. Every single one of those people is on a totally different journey. An AI might be great at generating a perfect happy path for a customer, right? But it usually has no idea how an admin's actions over here could totally break that customer's experience over there. It just doesn't see the whole system. Okay, so how do we actually navigate this new world? Well, the answer is to create a really clear, really intentional division of labor. So let's check out a kind of responsibility map that helps clarify who owns what in this new partnership between us, the designers, and our AI tools. Now, this division of labor, it's not really about who does more work. It's all about risk. We let the AI handle the stuff that needs speed and is pretty low risk to change, generating layouts, drafting some copy. But we, the humans, have to own the high-risk decisions, the ones that carry real accountability. We're talking about system logic, permissions, and especially planning for when things inevitably go wrong. Because those are the decisions that either build or completely break user trust. So if you need a simple rule of thumb, here it is. If a decision could possibly damage trust, mess up data, or cause something that can't be undone, a human has to own it, period. Think about something as simple as a delete account button. Sure, an AI can design what the button looks like, but a human designer needs to own the confirmation steps, the warnings, and the logic for what actually happens to the data. The stakes are just way too high to leave that to chance. Okay, so what does designing the system actually look like on a day-to-day basis? Well, it's really about designing the invisible architecture, the scaffolding that holds the entire product together. So let's break down 3 really critical areas where designers are the ones who provide all this value. First up is designing states. Now, every important thing in a product, like a document, project, whatever, it goes through a whole life cycle, right? From created all the way to archived. A designer's job is to define the rules for every single step. For example, can you edit a project after it's been marked completed? Who gets an email when something moves to the under review stage? Answering these questions is how you build the hidden backbone of the product. All right, next up, we've got handoffs. These are those moments where responsibility gets passed from one place to another, maybe from one user to their manager, or from a person to an automated process. And you gotta understand, these are the most fragile points in any system. If they're not designed with incredible care, this is exactly where things get dropped, where users get confused, and where trust just evaporates. And that brings us to my favorite one, exceptions. There's this quote I absolutely love. A product that only works when everything goes right is not finished. Because let's be real, the real world is messy. Networks go down, people click the wrong things, stuff happens. Designing for what happens when things go wrong, that isn't just some nice-to-have polish. It is the fundamental difference between an amateur tool and a professional one. So when you put all of this together, designing the states, the handoffs, and all the exceptions, a whole new role for the designer starts to come into focus. It becomes way less about being the person who just creates the pixels, and a lot more about being the strategic conductor of the entire system. You're not just playing one instrument, you're the orchestrator. And this really boils the new dynamic down to its core. The AI is an amazing engine for generating options. It can give you 10 different versions of a screen in 10 seconds flat, but the designer's irreplaceable value, that lies in making the final decision. It's about using human judgment and a deep, holistic understanding of the system to choose the one right path forward. So, what's the new mission for designers? Well, it's to stop focusing only on the happy path and start designing the entire fortress. What does that mean? It means you're designing the rules, you're designing the boundaries, you're designing how the system behaves under stress. And ultimately, you are designing trust itself. This isn't a smaller role, it's a much, much bigger one. And this brings us to our final and I think most empowering takeaway here. This whole conversation, it shouldn't be about competing with AI. It's not about trying to be faster than an algorithm. The future of design is about orchestrating it. It's about using AI's incredible speed and scale to free ourselves up to focus on what we humans do best, making judgment calls, thinking systemically, and weaving all the complex pieces together to build something that's not just functional, but coherent, reliable, and fundamentally trustworthy. And in the world we're heading into, that is everything.